This is the story of a black man. His name is Norman Fontanelli, and this is his Harlem apartment. What he wants, what he is, what you force him to be, is what you are. For he is you, staring back through a mirror of poverty and despair, of revolt and freedom. Look at him, and know that to destroy him is to destroy yourself. You are weary of the long, hot summers. He is tired of the long, hungry winters. None of us are so far apart as it might seem. There is something about all of us that goes far deeper than blood or black and white. It is our common search for a better life and a better world. We march now over the same ground you once marched. We fight for the same things you still fight for. Our children's needs are the same as those of your children. We too are America. America is us. It gave us the only life we know, so we must share in its survival. Look at us. Listen to us. Try to understand us. Our appeal is urgent. There is yet a chance for all of us to live in peace beneath these restless skies.
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave. Go home to my Lord and be free.
Gordon Parks' race and first-hand experience with poverty gave him the ability to capture the reality and emotion of African Americans within the Black experience. The youngest of 15, Parks was born on November 30th, 1912 to Jackson and Sarah Parks. His photography career began when he bought his first camera from a pawn shop in 1937. In 1942, he moved to Washington, D.C. and became a photographer for the Farm Security Agency. In Parks' photo American Gothic 1942, irony is present with Ella Watson posed under a U.S. flag holding a broom and mop. In 1948, Parks got a job at Life magazine where he worked for 20 years. His first photo essay for the magazine was titled Harlem Gang Leader, Red Jackson's Life as One of Fear, Frustration, and Violence. The images in this series had a bleak, almost ominous feeling. A photo of the 16-year-old Midtowners gang leader Red Jackson, entitled Red Jackson, Harlem, New York, 1948, is included in the essay. In the image, he seems to be in deep thought and feeling somewhat fearful and confused. The photographs in this essay show the reality and possibility of death, but they also reveal the brotherhood of this group of young men. In 1950, Parks proposed a cover story for Life in which he decided to track down the 11 classmates who graduated with him from the segregated Plaza Middle School in 1927 in Fort Scott, Kansas. In the search for his fellow classmates, he found only one still living in Fort Scott. That was Louella Russell. In Outside the Liberty Theater, Parks photographed Louella's daughter and her boyfriend standing under the theater marquee, debating whether to see a movie in the theater's Buzzard's Roost, the section reserved for blacks. He found his classmate Pauline Terry in Detroit. In the photo, Husband and Wife, Sunday Morning, Detroit, Michigan, 1950, Parks shot a powerful image of Pauline and her husband Bert walking to church on a regular Sunday morning. In Tenement Dwellers, 1950, Parks photographed his classmate Maisel Morgan in a rundown hotel for transients in Chicago. The image's shadows impart a feeling of sorrow and helplessness.
Jordan, roll, roll, Jordan, roll. Oh, I want to get to heaven when I die to hear old Jordan roll.
In a March 1968 issue of Life, Parks' photo series of the Fontanelli family in Harlem, New York, shows race and poverty up close and personal. The image, The Cry That Will Be Heard, found on the cover of Life on March 3, 1968, was of one child with a tear rolling down his face. In this photo, you can see and almost feel the agony he is experiencing. There's another image of two of the children sharing one small cup of milk. In this single image, Parks was able to demonstrate their lives of destitution.
The kingdom to see old Jordan roll.
Racial inequality is depicted in some candid shots that Gordon Parks took for a photo series called Segregation Story for Life magazine in 1956. In Mr. and Mrs. Albert Thornton, Mobile, Alabama, 1956, this middle-class couple appear to be tired but at peace. A second photo in the series, Department Store, Mobile, Alabama, 1956, shows an African-American woman and her daughter under a neon sign outside of a department store which reads Colored Entrance. Other images such as Andrea Tanner and her grandmother window shopping, Mobile, Alabama, 1956, and Outside Looking In, Mobile, Alabama, 1956, observe children living in the segregated South. These children, whether looking in a department store window or through a fence at a playground, clearly possess a feeling of invisibility. In Airline Terminal, Atlanta, Georgia, 1956, Parks depicts a time in 20th century America when a black woman could be trusted to care for a white woman's baby, but she didn't have the right to sit next to her. Again, we see how Parks had an understanding of racial inequality and proved it through his photos. Parks gave the world an insight into the lives of those who faced poverty and racial injustice. His life experience aided him in telling the stories of others through his photography.
I just want to be remembered for having been a decent human being who loved people, regardless of who they were, and make this a better world, the universe that I was put upon by God, and He expected me to give something to it and not just to take something away from it.